Hello, 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 party people. We are
Hey!
back. Yet another day of
You're
quarantine.
froze already, Mel.
No, I'm just not moving.
It's Monday.
I just wasn't moving. I was trying to block the light. I got to put the thing over it.
Oh man, I thought I brought my water bottle. I might have to go get it.
Okay.
Oh no, it's behind me. Never mind.
All right. So today we are just discussing episode 9.
9 days it's been
Season
now. 9 days.
1. This one is called. What is this one called? I just wrote it down too. Oh, Spooky Little Girl. Where I don't know where they got that title from because it doesn't make any sense. But
Oh, I do. We played that song like 3 times during the episode.
oh, I know. But at the time when I first watched it, I didn't understand the whole concept of why did they name it that. And then I heard the song, like, oh,
The chorus goes in right when what's her face is doing something spooky. Is it spooky little girl?
yes. And let's see, this episode was written by Jennifer Salt.
Yay! No wonder I like it so much.
And it was directed by John Scott. I have no idea. Another new one.
Yeah, she wrote the episode 3 and then this one.
Mm-hmm. And I think she wrote one other one in this
That's Melly's phone.
this season, I think. Yeah, that's Mel.
Yeah, Debbie, spooky. I love that song. Every version.
So this is where we get the story of the Black Dahlia.
Yep.
Yep. And the fact that that dentist is a complete creep and a half.
Who?
The dentist that she goes to see.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
It starts in it doesn't tell you when it starts. You just see a car driving that looks like it's from the 40s. It does later, but in the very beginning, there's a big red car that drives up.
It starts in 1947. That's where it starts.
So again, this season's been consistent all the way through with a flashback to open.
Yeah. Because it starts in 1947 with the taxi pulling up to the house. And she's walking up to the house, and it turns out that the guy that she's going to see is a dentist because she's got a cavity she wants filled. And of course she doesn't have the money to pay for it, so she's trying to work out a different way for payment.
Hi, Debbie.
Her MO.
And see, this is what I don't understand. She's already offered to do him, basically, so he'll take care of her dental work. Why he has to drug her makes no sense. She's already offered.
Maybe he's one of those sickos who gets off on that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I realize it's probably because he's a sick motherfucker, but
that kind of struck me that way. It's like, it doesn't matter whether you offer yourself up to this guy's still going to take advantage of you.
That's control.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's a sicko. Let's see, where are we at? Yeah, so this is all about dental work. The dentist's name, they actually gave the dentist's name. His name is David Karen.
yes.
They actually gave him a name, which I was surprised by.
Yeah. It's odd.
And then later on in the scene, we see a lady walking with a stroller with her daughter, and her daughter looks out, "What's that, Mom?" And she says, "Oh, it's nothing. It's a store mannequin," only to find out that it's actually her body.
Right. The Black Dahlia's body.
The Black Dahlia.
Elizabeth Short.
Yep, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
Short.
when I first saw this and she said my name, well, when she walked up, I knew who she was supposed to be before she said her name.
Oh God, she looked amazing, didn't she? She looked just like her.
She looked exactly like you would picture her to look. And later on, when she shows up, I mean, I guess not everybody knows the name of the Black Dahlia.
No.
Yeah, so Di, why don't you give a little bit of backstory? Because I know you know the story really well. I mean, we all do, but why don't you give a little bit of backstory on the Black Dahlia for people who don't know that that's related?
So the Black Dahlia was an unsolved murder back in 1947. There was an actress who moved here from somewhere, I believe in the Midwest. She moved to Los Angeles with hopes of being a star, like a lot of girls did back then. And she found herself doing,
Still do.
She found herself, as some do, doing some questionable work. She did some pinups, they call them.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
You're frozen, Di.
Got a delay. Repeat.
Okay,
we got a delay on that one.
Not a problem. She supported herself by being a model for some what was considered racy photos at the time. She did some nudes as well, and a lot of stockings and leotards and things like that. The interesting thing is if you go back and she's very Betty Page-ish.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people compare the two. And Sarah Paulson was actually in a movie about Betty Page that I saw that was on like HBO, and all of a sudden Sarah Paulson shows up as a photographer. It was really crazy. She was taking naked pictures of her. So she hangs out with these other little starlets, and they all kind of do what they need to do to survive. And then one morning, a woman and her child are walking by an empty lot down by the beach, and they found her dismembered. They said that the person, then this is the thing that Ryan picked up on, the person who killed her had to have had medical training because of the way she had been taken apart.
Yeah.
She was dissected. She had her limbs removed. She had her intestines were gone. There was no blood left. And then on top of it, someone had taken they said a scalpel and cut her in like a Joker-esque kind of on her face from here to here. I mean, I've read a lot. I know I've been like upset and so it's really interesting that Ryan would take something like this that happened at the time and say, I'm going to solve the mystery because it's still to this day, people try to figure it out. It's like Jack the Ripper.
Right.
They actually use Jack the Ripper a lot in this investigation.
Nobody knows. So it's really interesting that Ryan takes these kind of, I mean, it's not an urban legend, it's an unsolved mystery and explains what happens. I thought it was fucking brilliant because it explains everything that they thought they were looking for everyone in the medical community. They said there's no way.
Let's also say, side note, that obviously this is Ryan's interpretation, like much other stuff in the show. This, like you said, it's unsolved. It's
completely unsolved. I love that he takes and said,
he saw a dentist. So.
Maybe this would have happened,
I just don't want people thinking that
oh yeah, no.
In the murder
this was his way of saying, what if somebody really famous walked into the door? What would happen if, I'm going to be in the 40s, I'm going to show some backstory. What would happen if the Black Dahlia happened to walk up? It's almost like I mean, they're definitely following the rest of the storyline, but the Black Dahlia has almost this whole hour. And maybe he just wanted to give Mena Savari a great role, which she did a great job with.
Right. And
it all worked itself in, especially later on in the episode when she's talking to Hayden, and we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, it was really famous in Los Angeles. It might have been the most famous kind of crazy thing to happen in between the Manson murders and like the 40s. It was just like, It was like it had everybody freaked out. It had everybody, and everyone stayed home and they closed their doors, and women wouldn't.
And like they said in the show, it was on the front page of every paper for months.
And the interesting thing is,
even still, when they find something, that they theorize about, or some new evidence or something, that it'll pop up and be front page news and everything else.
yes, the notorious Betty Page, and Betty Page and the Black Dahlia have very kind of a similar look. They have the really pale skin with the black hair, and they wear the stockings and the shoes. And although I think Betty Page was murdered before Betty Page, Black Dahlia was murdered before Betty Page became, or was like, but to this day, no. And the interesting thing is, they thought someone who did something like that was so kind of serial killer-esque, but that didn't happen again. That was it. Yeah. They never heard from the killer, they don't think, again, because there was never.
Maybe he did. He just switched up his MO because of the publicity it got. He didn't want to get caught.
Who knows? Or maybe he offed himself and nobody knew who it was because he was so. We don't know. Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting that actually Jennifer, who wrote it, thought, let's put a little.
Yeah, let's put this in here. And all this happened before we even got the opening credits.
Yes.
My biggest thing on this episode is really backs up my complaint when I go into really pissed off about, these shows glamorizing, the dead, or glamorizing victims or anything like that. This goes to show you, they can do stuff like this with real people really respectfully. They didn't change the Black Dahlia's MO at all. They didn't change her personality. They sensationalize her, nothing like that. That's why, like, when we go to like 1984, I get so pissed off at like the whole Richard Ramirez stuff. It's because there's no reason to rewrite a real person's history. I mean, this they show that they can do. And they can do.
If they're good enough for you to choose to be part of your American Horror Story, then I would think that the story is good enough. Even though I know you write stuff in, but like you said, you don't have to glamorize certain things or completely make it ridiculous, right? Like you already have the story.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So then the next scene.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The next thing we move in is now 2011. We're back into real time again, and Moira's making the bed upstairs in the master bedroom.
Well, actually, before that is when the detective comes in about Hayden.
No, that's after.
No, then I don't know. I'm just looking at looking at the scenes, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing. That's okay. Go ahead. No, my bad.
She's making the bed, and Ben walks in, says that Violet has been holding out in her room, basically just hiding out, and if she would please make her a sandwich. And Moira tries to make some advances towards him, because obviously that's what her job is, to test.
Well, she's testing him. And we find that out at the end of this episode. Mm-hmm. But and whereas you're kind of torn back and forth, you're like, I like Moira, but she is very sultry and she is throwing herself at these men and she is still doing things that are considered bad or wrong. Mm-hmm. Right. But you come to find out that she has very, very good intentions. She's protecting people that she now cares about. Mm-hmm. And so she is testing the biggest threat to this family.
She has to know about Violet at this point.
Oh, Moira knew, but I mean, Moira is a spirit in the house. Moira knows, but nobody else, like living, like Ben and Vivian, didn't know yet. Yeah, no. Violet didn't know yet.
You know what? And I have a question. Did they ever explain? Because when all the other people in Murder House die, they don't age. They look the same as they did when they died.
Yeah, so
why is it that Moira is the only one who seems to have aged in real time?
That's the biggest one with Moira. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about last night. I mean, you can theorize everywhere with Moira, but I think it has to do with the fact that, like Michael had mentioned, that she's an old soul. That's how she sees herself. Like, she's aged over time because she's grown, and she's grown wisdom over time. So that's how she sees herself now, is an older, wiser woman who's still attractive, but an older woman. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why, and that's why she tests men, because she knows she still has that younger sexual form, you know, so she can test people to see if they're willing to do whatever it is that, you know, she's testing them for. But
yeah, well, I know she said, you know, if you have to see, and even when she tries to advance with him in the bedroom with Violet, he turns her down, and then she said it's just a matter of time. She still doesn't believe him yet. The will is the what is it? The will is there, but the flesh is weak.
Yeah.
The will is strong, but the flesh is weak. Like eventually you're gonna cave and I'm gonna get you. It's like,
and that's her whole MO right now, is to test Ben and see how far she can.
Because she wants to, if he's gonna be harming these babies, because she likes Vivian, she cares about Vivian and Violet, but her big thing is now mothering these babies, which everyone is, because they know where this baby came from too, and they don't know it's the Antichrist. But you know, so it's like that's her MO, is to keep Ben away from the babies and away from the family.
Yeah.
To test Ben, to get him away. That's what she wants, is to get Ben away.
yeah, I mean,
I agree. I agree, Debbie.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in every American Horror Story, Frances might be even in Asylum, the small role that she plays.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it wasn't small. Not only, and Debbie will attest to you, she did not have one but 2 roles in Asylum, because that's Debbie's favorite character.
Which I can't wait to talk about that crazy bitch at the end in the prison. It's like, what's going on?
And we need Dennis back so bad.
Yeah, we do. Oh God.
Wait till we get to Polk. Grandma Polk.
Uh-huh. Oh, Mama Polk?
Mama Polk.
Mama Polk.
That is like, that transformation. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so go ahead, Donnie.
Yeah. We're really going to get there.
Yeah, I think we are. Stay going, though.
And there's more scenes with Travis, which...
Yeah, as much as Travis they want to show, give him to me. If I had to paint my perfect boy toy, he would look just like that. Long hair, look like he walked out of the 70s. So cute, huh?
He's dumb as a box of rocks, though.
Doesn't matter.
But
doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter.
That's not what he's there for.
Yes. And
That's not what he's there for.
And of course, we have Hayden stirring the pot as usual, because she's bored and has nothing better to do.
Well, I think it's really interesting because Constance. Well, do you want to go ahead?
If they first, Constance treats Travis like shit.
They get into a huge fight, and
take the dogs out again.
And it's like the more she yells at him and the more she treats him like shit, the more she falls in love with him, which happens to people. Men do it with women, women do it with men. It's just the way that happens. So he's going down to get cigarettes, and Hayden sees him and lures him into the house, and he has sex with her. And then she says, were you with that old woman? And he's like, I think I love her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she gets pissed, and she's like, well, then why are you here with me?
Kind of answers your question before, when you're like, what does he see in her? Well, it still doesn't fully tell us what it is he loves about her, but he loves her. It's not just a sexual thing.
The fact that he's younger and he's older makes me like him, because he doesn't see she's a beautiful woman, but he loves her for her. She might be a sick and twisted her, but the fact that he doesn't want some young little twinkie.
So many men, and in women too, but it's a stereotype where, women like the bad boy. So guys like the crazy girl. It just always seems to go that way, especially with teenagers.
Yeah, except Constance is not a teenager, but
she'd like to think.
Yeah, she still thinks she's 25. Mm-hmm. And she's still very attractive.
She is.
So then you think he's dumb, like you said, Mike, but then you see that he has more depth to his emotion being in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he uses Hayden like a total piece of meat, and that pisses her off.
He gets what she deserves, though. I mean,
it's what she deserves. But then she's like, well, then why'd you sleep with me? And she said, oh, I just wanted to see if I.
She lured him in off the street. Okay. She knew where he came from, who he was with. And she's just like, okay, so now we're good and you're going to be with me and everything. Like basically what she did to Ben, where she just instantly clung and became psycho. And it's like, dude, it was just sex. Like, why did you didn't meet me on the street corner and bring me inside and say, hey, I need a father for my children. I want a serious relationship. No, you said, hey, let's go do it.
She thought, she's like, he asked why she's like, well, you're going to go back to grandma now. And she said, well,
no,
I'm going to be
mommy. She said, your
mommy. And
your mommy going to be pissed.
She said, I'm in love too. And I'm going to be moving in. He's like, how do you get to live here? She said, well, I'm going to be moving in soon.
Me and Ben
right now, she just wants revenge sex with him. She's not into anything else because she still thinks that because Vivian is in the loony bin, that she and Ben are going to be together.
Right.
At this moment. So then Travis gets up and he leaves. And then she said, well, he's like, why did you do this to me then? She's like, I just wanted to see if I could do it with someone who was still alive.
Yeah.
With then right there, bam, opens up a whole bunch of questions for me. Because when they were first laying in the bed, before she said that, before she puts on her clothes and gets out of bed, you know, he's like, I forget exactly how elegantly he put it, but basically, you know, he's just like, hey, I don't know how to say this in YouTube terms. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that was the second time.
Well, regardless. And she says, it's okay. I can't get pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, oh, really? Sweet. And then I'm like, oh.
Right. Okay, so she can't get pregnant because she's dead. That's why she can't get pregnant. Okay. Got it. So it does slightly answer a question for us, but at the same time, it gives more questions because I'm sure, like we said, they didn't think this out fully, even with the first season, with it making sure everything was, you know, uniform and matching. But if Hayden can't get pregnant because she wanted to see if she could still make it with a dead guy or with a live person, that's the spirit and ghost connection. But maybe it's because female ghosts can't have a baby then, right? Okay, so it at least answers one.
Because they reference the Virgin Mary, so it has to be a human woman to carry the baby.
Okay.
The female ghosts, nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah. Because that was the confusing part when you think about it, because how is it possible Vivian got pregnant with...
Right.
Well, you find out later on when they open the box.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he leaves, and is that when the police officer shows up looking for Hayden and tries to get Ben in trouble with her sister?
Let's see.
Yeah, kind of right around there.
The detective.
Yeah, I believe so. That is when the detective shows up at the door with Hayden's sister.
Yeah, so Ben is in the house, and he's just come down from being with Moira, and so he's a little bit frustrated anyway. And the police officer, I think Debbie knows his name very well, and I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Jack Colquitt.
Yes. Colquitt shows up, and he had already been to his house once looking for Sally or Adina Porter. So he shows up, but he's got a blonde woman with him, and she looks at Ben and said, you probably don't remember me. I'm Hayden's sister. And then he's like, Hayden was here. And then he gets all like, well, I got a question for her too. And blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden she's like, what is everybody freaking out about? And they turn around and there's Hayden standing there.
He walks in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And Ben's already seen her at Halloween. So he thinks something happens and he didn't kill her. He's already in that frame of mind. Like she crawled out or something weird, or Larry helped her dig her. He hasn't put it together. He's not there yet. He's just glad to fucking see her so he doesn't have to go to jail.
Right. Until the cop leaves.
Yeah, until the cop leaves and he's like, you've got 2 seconds to explain this before
2 seconds, bitch.
I'll come back and have you arrested. So And then they have the scene out on the gazebo where she says, our fate was written in the stars and all that other stuff.
And I was meant to find you right when your marriage collapsed. And he said, yeah. And he tells her exactly what it was. You were there. You were there for me. I appreciate it. But guess what? I love my wife. I don't want to be with you. And I never loved you. And
that is not what she wants to hear.
Oh, no, she loses her damn mind.
Oh,
she goes postal.
Yeah, that's when she goes postal.
It's like, hello.
And one thing she does well, the actress does well, is she does postal well.
Yes, gotta give her credit for that.
Yeah, like she did it in Pose too. But so then they have this confrontation, and then she walks away. And then when Ben walks into the house, Elizabeth Short is standing in a study, right? Isn't that
wait. But listen, let me point this out real quick. When Ben and Hayden had this, little moment, like you said, after the detective left, and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. I just want you to leave. He's like, tell me what you're doing here before I call that detective back. And she apologizes when he says, I love my wife and everything. Like, and she sounds sincere and genuine. Yeah. And she's like, I just wanted to make things work and this and that. I just wanted to fix things and whatnot, whatever she says exactly. But she sounds very sincere and genuine, which caught me off guard because you don't like Hayden at this point. You don't like her character. You don't like anything about her. So she had like a moment of like, and I know it's all part of her plan in a way, but at the same time, you kind of have sympathy for her because you feel bad for this girl because here you see the flashback with her and Ben just led her on and on and on. And, he knew he was crossing the line and he even said it, but he still did it. And it's just like, the thing is like she was young, naive, and she was in love and he broke her heart. She was crazy too, but love drove her crazy.
Very fatal attraction.
See, with somebody like Hayden,
fatal attraction, man.
For somebody like Hayden, it's up to the man to set that straight at a young age. Because if he would have set her straight right before that affair ever started, she may never have done it again. She may have realized. But when you're young and you feed into that, then all of a sudden it feeds that behavior.
I mean, look at Fatal Attraction. He was into her. He courted her. He did everything. And then he said, look, I don't love you. And then she went
done with her. Yeah. Well, and my point with that is that, like I said, Hayden sounds sincere and genuine and everything, like a moment of humanity, which, like we saw that one out of Constance. But then she also sits down, which I know you're getting ready to talk about, but she sits down with Elizabeth and she explains a story to her and she's like, honey, it's okay. And like, she's genuinely nice and kind. And, then you know what I mean? Like this episode, you actually see a turn in Hayden where you actually kind of like her a little bit.
I don't.
At least not maybe like her, but you have a little more understanding or maybe a little more empathy for her, not sympathy, but a little more empathy for her.
Yeah,
not me. I just think she's a dumb, stupid girl who's doing whatever she can to get what she wants, and she's manipulating everybody around her. She's calculating every single move.
Totally. But my point, the whole reason you
see her in a different. You see her change.
She had nothing to gain from Elizabeth by being nice to her and talking with her and explaining it to her and comforting a lost soul. She had nothing to gain from that. Like that wasn't.
That was the one kind act you've seen.
Right.
Because
then I very much think maybe she was a little genuine, but it was also part of her plan to soften him up, make him think, because she just walked in and she knows that he doesn't know she's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Hayden's a world-class manipulator. So that has never. This is their first real big failure.
Before all this happens, and before they have that conversation, Elizabeth Short shows up in Ben's office and says she needs help. And this is Moira putting her up to this.
Yeah.
Because Moira said he's a doctor and he can help you because she's so distraught because she feels that she lost all of her chance to be famous, all her dreams. And she goes along with trying to seduce him. And again, he rebuffs her. He tells her it's not going to happen and tell her to come back tomorrow. So then she comes back the next day and you see her and Moira on the couch having a little girl time. And he walks in and they're like, it looks like something out of like the Bible, like like Salome or, come on, Ben. And you see in his mind, he flashes into being with them. But he's just thinking for a minute and he pulls himself back and you're like, yes, you're not such a douchebag after all. And he sends Elizabeth home and he tells Moira, get the fuck out and you're fired. And as Moira walks out the door, she says, what is she? She says something like, well, maybe you know what's going on after all. And then she looks on the other side of the door and that's where he sees her real face for the very first time for a very split second.
This was my favorite scene in the whole episode. I mean, there was some good scenes, but this was my favorite scene by far in the whole episode.
She basically said, you're finally seeing things the way they are. Congratulations.
Congratulations. You passed the test of being a decent human being. You might not have been one before, but now you realize what's going on. So
does he know about the twins yet?
Huh?
Does he know about the twins yet? No. Okay. Yeah, so he's still trying to save his marriage.
Not yet. Because the doctor hasn't called him with the amnio results.
Yeah.
No.
So then,
which is a whole other thing I'm gonna get on when we get there.
Yes. So then Elizabeth Short is sitting on the couch after this happened. And that's when we see Hayden's maybe only act of kindness. And she's like, what's wrong? And she's like, but my hopes and my dreams. And I know it sounds really, really shallow, but I just wanted to be famous. Yeah. And Hayden looked at her and says, honey, don't you know who you are?
Right. And you could tell she looked very genuine when she said it. Like, my God, you poor thing. Do you not know?
I think the reason Hayden was nice to her was because she saw a little bit of her in her. She was used by men. She was treated really badly. She didn't give kindness to a Vivian type or even to a strong woman. It was to someone that she thought was wrong by men, like she had been.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, we did see her
actually do something nice.
And then turn around in the next scene we see her and do something heinous. So it's like, but yes, so the Black Dahlia realizes who she actually is and that she became famous and seems to give her that little bit of closure.
Yeah, she tells her the story of the Black Dahlia, and then we see, Murphy's vision of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really interesting, especially a lot of people who do, creative things take stuff that we don't know about and that we might never know. And they interpret whether it's heaven and hell or a story like this. It's just interesting to see way people think about things that we just are never going to know.
My favorite interpretive of this, of anything is if you guys have never seen it, it's based off a graphic novel, off a comic book, is the movie From Hell, based on Jack the Ripper.
Yes.
Is so well played out. It is it's so convincing that the royal family had everything to do with the Jack the Ripper case. It's really.
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
I've seen that movie a couple times. I like that movie.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
So then after this happens, that's when we see Hayden, right, with Travis again.
Yep. Because now
she's pissed. Oh, no. Actually, after Travis gets back from the first time, he thinks Constance's going to be really pissed. She fucking proposes to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, because she did exactly what Hayden told Travis before.
Said, look.
She said, if you give her some reason, she's going to come crawling back to you.
And that's when he said, I'm not going to tell her.
What did she say? She said, putting rainbows up your ass or something.
Yeah, you'll be blowing your ass with rainbows. Yes.
Blowing your ass with rainbows.
Exactly what happened.
That's the line. That's the line of the episode, you guys.
That is the line of the episode. So when he goes back after they fuck the first time, he goes back and she proposes and asks about his headshots and basically kind of demeans him because he's like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So then after the other fight, he goes back.
Well, no. The reason he said he couldn't do it, because I think he would have married her, was she said, let's get married and let's have a baby. I would bring a baby into this house, because this is when she had just found out about the fact that Tate was the father. You skipped that part.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Well, I was just following the one story because we keep bouncing around.
Yeah, I was gonna say because let me just say right now, the scene with Constance and Tate, when Constance, after she talks to Moira and tells her about Tate raping Vivian, Constance goes to the basement. She confronts Tate and she says, "Did you do this?" She said, "Did you crawl on top of that man's wife?" And right then, he doesn't even have to say it. And he starts crying. And then he says, "Mama, please don't tell Violet." That's what he's worried about. Mm-hmm. And Constance is like, "Oh my God." She's like, "We finally had something good. She said someone that could help you." And I'm assuming she was talking about Ben, even though Violet's also helping him. So, maybe that. And she knows Violet's helping. That's why she's talked to Violet.
Yeah, no, she really thought that if he had a psychiatrist, it could straighten his twisted mind out.
I think so. I think she did. Yeah. But
because the phone call must have come right after the whole Moira thing. Because when Moira looked around, Ben didn't know about that the call from the doctor.
Yeah, because that happened after that whole scene. She told him, and then the whole thing with Tate happened after that.
Yeah, so the doctor called and told Ben, and he said, "I normally would." She said, "And this is the weird doctor." And now she seems a little not so strange.
She's no, she seemed fucking strange. Because right now, I'm going to tell you that phone call was bullshit. Bullshit. I don't care if it's your husband or not, unless you've signed something saying specifically you can give this information.
Yes.
And then on top of it, because of the sensitive type of information that it was, that doctor had no right whatsoever to tell Ben when she knew she was telling Ben. She even said, "Well, since her psychiatrist said she can't handle this information, okay, then you fucking wait. There's nothing they can do about it. They can't change it."
She said that that she was that he was her proxy.
But even still, you see even what I'm saying is even because with my husband,
she should have called him in and told him in person.
But she couldn't have told him at all because of the sensitive nature of the subject.
And he's the subject. He's the subject of a thing that obviously went wrong.
And that's like a HIPAA loophole type of thing.
Yeah. So he's now compliant in this whole thing where that would jeopardize her mental stability. And so because she's in a nut house and because the psychiatrist said that she's not good enough for the news, he's the last person on the planet that should have got the news. Anybody
the doctor called Ben and said that there's a very strange thing they found and that the twins have different fathers. And Moira overhears this, and this is what she tells. But that whole thing, I still didn't understand. I didn't get why she did it over the phone.
No. And I get that it's because it's a TV show and it's for time purposes and everything, so it doesn't have to be completely accurate. I totally get that, but still, it's like, come on, that's BS. That's total BS right there.
Well, the repercussions of what could happen, what happened in this episode, it shows you exactly why you don't tell that man.
Exactly, and it's the fact that because wait, okay, where are we at? Then that happens, and then like you said, then Constance and Tate in the basement. And what I was gonna say about that was, oh my God, if I had to pick, like I said, this episode was great, it really was. But if I had to pick I know I said the Moira scene was my favorite, but honestly, that was my favorite reveal, even though we already knew it, but a reveal to a character. But as for performance, oh my God, Jessica Lange and Evan Peters in that basement when she went down and started pounding on him and hitting him. And she wasn't really hitting him hard and beating him. It was a distraught mother being like, "You stupid boy, you stupid boy." And that's what she kept telling him, "You stupid boy." And it's but that performance on the acting on both of their parts was just by far amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah.
So beautifully done. It was so believable. It was so something somebody could have with their own child or has had, or what I mean? It was very real in the moment. You felt the pain that she was feeling as she had to be angry with her son about this, but how horrible this thing that he had done was. As
actors,
amazing.
You'll see throughout Jessica's 4 seasons that their chemistry, Evans and Jessica's chemistry is brilliant.
And I'm sure they probably really do in real life have like a mother-son type of bond because they worked together for so long and everything, you know, and
but
she
this is
seems
the
like
first
that
time
kind
they've
of
met.
person.
So, you know, the chemistry is just.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Not met, but, you know, been in this.
Well,
Because so
worked together with this. Yeah.
So the doctor calls and tells him about the two different fathers. Moira overhears it. She goes and tells Constance. Constance comes down, reams Tate over it. Then she goes back up to the house, and then that's when she proposes to Travis. And Travis kind of bugs a little. She's like, there's a baby on the way. I don't think he thinks she's pregnant. I think he's just hit for a loop. Like, what do you mean have a baby?
Because we didn't even really question, wait, where are you going to get this baby? What are you talking about? He was just like,
just hey, there's a baby on the way.
He's like, and that's why I was saying, like, I think he would have married her if she would have just proposed. But I think she threw that baby thing in the mix and everything, and all of a sudden that scared him off. He's like, wait, you know, I want a career.
I don't know. As soon as he proposed, he kind of went, well, what about my career? I have to have a career before we can get married. And then she put the baby. I mean, the whole thing was just like, first he thought he was going to, he was expecting her to start screaming at her again.
Yeah.
Because she realized first she when she was talking with Moira, another part of the conversation was she wanted to know if Violet was fucking Tate or fucking Travis.
Yeah.
Because when he left and he came back, he smelled of something other than dog.
Yeah.
Yep.
When his 15-minute walk turned into 45 minutes, and I'm like, well, that's still pretty fast. He smelled something other than dog, and she's like, Violet can barely. There's no way Violet would be into Travis.
Right.
And she's like, he was with somebody. She hasn't figured out who it was. And then they go into that. Then that's when then she finds Tate afterwards. So she already knows he's doing something. And he's ready for a big, huge thing to happen. And she proposes to him instead of freaking out.
Yeah, and then the scene after that, you have Ben going to the hospital to see Vivian, and she's been totally sedated and everything. So
they had to restrain her.
Yeah,
because she was talking about a man in a mask and the rubber suit raping her. And they thought it was some kind of a psychotic break, and they had to restrain her. So here you have poor Vivian in the mental institution laying there, and she had to listen to this shit that comes out of his fucking mouth, and you just want to slap him.
He's so vile and
so good.
And it was like his shit don't stank. I mean, I know he pointed out, but he made sure to tell her that, you know, like she was a hypocrite because she got on him about cheating and whatnot. And I understand.
Who put in his head that it was? Who put in his head that it was the black guy, Hayden?
That was Hayden. Yeah, Hayden did that.
Before he went to the thing, Hayden came back and said, I need to tell you this, because she got all nice under the gazebo, so she would think she was okay. So when she told him then he was having an affair with Morris Chestnut, he would believe her.
Yeah.
That's why she got nice. And she came back, Ben, I have to tell you this. And, you know, you think you're being such a good person and you can't be with me. Well, guess what? Vivian's fucking around too. And she didn't.
If that would have been Morris Chestnut's baby, it would not have been an Antichrist. And you know how beautiful that baby would have been?
Oh my God, it would have been amazing.
Oh, I know.
And did you hear him? He said, look, if that was my, and then he confronted him. He's like, if that was my baby, you couldn't keep me away.
Well, he set the alarm off. Remember, Ben set the alarm off.
Yeah, he's sitting there smoking a cigarette.
Luke comes running in, and Ben's just sitting there waiting for him. And he's like, you know, you didn't have to set off the alarm to get me here.
And he just, but this was after he was at the hospital. So we were embellishing on. So I mean, that hospital, I mean, it breaks my heart. What do you guys say? I mean, I think they went over it enough.
The single best performances in the entire series. I mean, his control in that, to deliver that the way he did was just amazing.
He just I mean, he's always been a dick, but now you were ready to take a knife and plunge it into him.
But yeah, just the calm, the sincerity,
the vindictiveness, the sadisticness, the malice.
Yeah, he did. It was awesome.
So then he leaves her. He's like, you think, thank God my husband's a doctor. Thank God he can get me out of here. Thank God he's come to save me. Well, guess what? I'm not going to save you, honey, because I found out you're fucking somebody else because the twins have different fathers. And this is how she finds out.
Yeah. She doesn't
and she can't say anything because she's sedated. So she has to listen to all this stuff and she can't verbalize any of it.
Starts to cry.
Yeah.
And then he just gets up and walks out, and then he confronts Morris Chestnut, who's like, "Look, I don't know what your problem is. In the last 5 minutes, you called your wife a whore. You called her this. You called her that." Oh.
Okay.
This is my husband.
He's ready to go outside.
Channel.
Ready to take on.
He's just going to go smoke a cigarette, so I don't know what's up. I mean, maybe they announced something on the news that I haven't heard in the last hour.
So we're at 10 minutes. So then Morris Chestnut comes and basically explains to him if it was his baby or if this happened, and he doesn't know what's going on, and you're calling your wife a whore, and I would think about it again. And then he leaves. And then Ben goes.
He tells him, he's like, for a fact it's not mine. He says, because I'm shooting blanks. He said, just trust me, ask my ex-wife. It was a big part of a problem.
5 years and tried to have a baby. He can't get her pregnant. So then Ben goes upstairs to the bathroom and there's a fucking mask in the sink. And he picks it up and he has this moment of, oh my God, my wife was.
Well, let's point out it's the latex rubber mask. I don't know why they call it
rubber mask. The mask from the rubber suit.
Why do they call it rubber man when it's latex? It's not rubber.
It's the mask from the rubber suit. And then you flash to what might be the most important part of this whole thing, which is Constance has Billie Dean in her kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she wants to know.
First, First, when he finds the mask is when he talks to Moira. And that's when Moira tells him he passed the test.
Because that's when he sees Moira older and she says, you're finally seeing things the way they actually are.
Right, because that was right after he found the mask, and Moira, he says something about she wasn't lying or she wasn't crazy or something. I don't remember what he says, but he says something.
But he realizes at that moment that he fucked up really bad, and that Vivian was raped. He couldn't think of a million things of why or who, which we'll find out later.
And all of this in the same episode of him fucking telling her she's a whore, she's worthless. He wouldn't save her to save anybody. He'd save some before her. And then he accuses Luke, jumps all down Luke, and like he's ready to brawl with Luke or something. Like, dude, Luke will whoop your ass anyway. And then all of a sudden at the very end being like, holy shit, my wife was raped and that's who impregnated her. Like, it's crazy how much he went through in this episode.
So then it ends with the last scene. Who wants to do this? Because I'll just sit there.
Let Mike do it.
It's the prophecy. She said that when the Pope, she says, have you ever heard the prophecy that when there's a new Pope? When there's a new Pope, there's a box. The new Pope goes to get the box, and the box basically tells the Pope that I forget how it's put. It tells the identity of the
secret to the end of the world.
First, she asks what would happen if a. She said, "What would happen if a ghost copulated with a human?"
And then she laughs at her. She laughs at her and laughs it off. Because first she asked her about babies or something, right? And she's like, "Oh, are you going through the change or something like that?"
Yeah, you're gonna have a baby, and then she's like, "Menopause baby."
She's like, "Why am I seeing babies?" That's what Billie Dean said.
That's right. Yeah. She saw it. And then she said, "Well, what would happen if somebody from the spirit world copulated with a human?" Mm-hmm. And then she said, "Have you ever heard of the box?"
Yeah.
In the Pope.
The Pope's box.
The Pope's black box.
Yep.
And then
on the coronation of a new Pope, would open the box and discover the identity of the Antichrist.
Well, it's and then this again is going back to the Book of Revelations. So there's a box with a thing in it that says when the world is going to end is when the Antichrist will come forth. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Pope has to carry around with him, because it's called the Room of Sorrow, because it's both sad and it's happy, because you're going to find out when the end of the world, and the end of the world is brought about by the apocalypse, which is brought about by the Antichrist. And then she looks at, and then that's when, I apologize, Constance looks at her and says, well, what would happen if a human crossed over? And she said, the Holy Ghost whispered in the Virgin Mary's ear and got her pregnant.
She says, and merely impregnated her.
Impregnated her. She said,
with the Son of God.
Impregnated with the Mary with the Immaculate Conception. She said, and then she looks, I almost feel like she's looking at the camera instead of Constance, and she's like, the devil's going to want a little more bang for his buck.
Yeah.
End.
And then it ends.
And then you're like, holy fuck, she's having the Antichrist, and it's the end of the world.
Until they fuck the end of the world up.
Yeah.
Until 8 more seasons, but that's what you're thinking.
8 seasons down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so let me go back. Sorry, guys, we got like on a tangent. Let's see. So it looks like we have Debbie and BRT with us today. And Debbie loves Francis, and we love Francis. And everybody wants a ninja. Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, you know what? My husband thinks he's a damn ninja, so that's appropriate.
That was pretty good, though.
And it looks, are you in your pajamas, Dawn?
Yes, I am. I will not apologize for that.
Good for you.
I haven't seen it on the news anywhere or anything, but is all the religious zealots out there claiming the end of the world with this?
You know,
I haven't heard anything.
You would think, but I haven't seen anything.
Nope.
Yeah, because usually they do.
But
I'm not looking for it. Honestly.
Listen though. But if it was, the news stations aren't going to very publicly. They're not going to publish a lot of it and try to show it because they don't want mass panic and they don't want to be freaking people out.
People are already freaked out.
Well, just like they said that they don't want YouTube videos mentioning it, which is why I don't want us to talk about it too much. They're like, anybody that's doing it that's not a news person, they don't want them giving information because like people are saying, you know, there's like a lot of misinformation about it.
You know, people said masturbation, cocaine, and drinking bleach. People are saying these things and believing it and trying it, that these things will cure you of coronavirus.
Right. And they were talking about that when it gets hot, it's not going to live and they're burning themselves, which is not true either. They don't know.
No, we don't.
We always seem to end our stream talking about it.
Like the countries, like Mexico says it's warm here, so we don't have it. They just haven't tested anybody for it.
Where?
You know, the heat doesn't get rid of it. If anything, it'll make it worse once we run the air conditioners.
In defense of the heat process, the reason why people are saying that is because viruses as a group, you want to overreach and say a group. What they have is they have a lipid shell, like a fat shell around them, and heat tends to just dismantle that shell and break apart the virus. But they don't know that is going to happen with this. That's the thing.
I think they were just telling that to people to wash their hands with hot water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't know.
You have to use the antibacterial soap, people, because hot water helps. But
in China, there's multi different levels of climate throughout the different areas. Areas of China.
Alaska has it. Alaska has it. Hawaii has it.
No, some idiots are saying that once the summer comes, it's going to burn it away, which is bullshit.
No, we don't know that for sure.
I'm worried about it making it worse because there's going to be people, they're going to say, oh, we're good, or something. And people are going to be gathering again in big groups because it's summertime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or maybe the old people who can't take the heat with the air conditioning. That's not good either.
No.
Yeah.
So that's why they're asking for people not to put stuff out, because people are just going with these things, like doing cocaine, masturbating, or, it would be like, and the religious zealots would say, this is because there'll be some idiot who says, if you're gay, you're going to catch this disease. If you're promiscuous, you're going to catch this disease. If you're an unmarried woman with a child, they'll go nuts.
Oh,
they'll take everyone they consider to be a sinner, and they'll,
Yeah, it is.
Oh, so Debbie says the religious idiots are telling people everything is fine to go to church. And that the religious college made kids go backwards. and they now have a dozen. Jerry Falwell Jr. says God will save them.
See, yeah, and that's what I say. They're telling people go to church and everything. They're all going to die, and they're going to say it's okay. It was God's will.
You know what's interesting?
The dumb fucker telling you to gather together when they said don't do it. If what's
and
it's
not just Christians. There's a big there's a big Jewish Hasidic Jewish community, and those are the guys that wear the hats that have the little curls, and the girls have to wear wigs, and they have this whole set of rules for living. They're all having a big. They're not. They have their own police. They have their own communities in New York City. They have their own police department, and
they don't have to follow federal laws and things either. They have certain loopholes and stuff, and like Amish
and Passover's next week, and it's not going to. I mean, the regular synagogue.
Everybody was mad about Lent and everything.
Well, the Catholic Church is like, don't come, and a regular Jewish synagogue has closed and they're doing services online. But these are Hasidic Jews, the ones who like you have to have sex through the cloth, and women can't show their hair, and when women are on their period, they have to sleep in separate beds because they're dirty, and you have to have 2 sets of dishes, like real hardcore. They're not following anything either. So it's not just Christians. It's other, Well,
we know. I'm glad that they're starting to get the point out there and hammering home the reason why we are practicing this containment, this social distancing is not, it really doesn't have anything to do with a cure for the disease or stop the disease.
No.
It's to ease the hospitals.
Yeah.
It's what they call flatten the curve. You want the hospitals to maintain control so that when you get sick, you have a place to go, or the people have a place to be treated. When the hospitals get overwhelmed, it becomes chaos.
Because Italy was saying they shut themselves down 3 weeks ago, and they just finally saw things easing up after 3 weeks. So after 2 weeks, you can't get. If everybody would just stop,
exactly, just
like
stop.
2 weeks.
Like we've been begging for this. We've been begging for time to stop or the world to stop spinning forever to give people a minute, a break, and like we're getting it. Like take it, people.
But in Florida, they still have restaurants open.
Well, Florida always fucks everything up. I'm sorry, they screw things up with gun control. They screw things up with elections. It's like
opioids.
What's going on with the legislation down in Florida? It's just ridiculous. But you know what?
The nice. So now, the 3 of the 4 of us, Melinda's a smart girl, and so she's going to be safe. And the rest of us are in California, and our governor is doing such wonderful things, and we're very, very blessed. And we hope that everybody who's watching this, wherever you are, that you're doing whatever you need to do to keep yourself safe, and that everybody is going to just be watching their computers. Go on, and I want to watch that white tiger thing on Netflix. It looks like a fucking crazy shit. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. So one of us might need to watch it so we can maybe.
Doesn't it show animal abuse?
It's not.
Yeah, it's about murder, animal abuse. There's a gay zookeeper cheating on his husband or something, and some other stuff.
It's just a big kind of crazy thing. If it was.
Yeah.
Is it like that cat thing that actually shows animal abuse?
I don't think it's like that.
So. I think it's more about people who it's about Florida.
Okay. See,
they're in Florida.
That cat thing that came on was fucking bullshit. The fact that they made this documentary to show the obscenity of cat abuse, but then Netflix is sensationalizing it by showing this shit on Netflix.
No, this is the name of it. It's White Tiger, and the guy is an exotic animal breeder.
Yeah, I don't think it's people who have exotic animals and stuff.
But it's the stories of the people, not the animals. I don't think, because I wouldn't even think. Me, the crazy cat lady. I wouldn't even think about watching it, and I'm going to have to look it up a little bit more before I can.
Yeah, because I thought they were comparing that to the cat thing. I thought.
So we want to say thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us today. I know we kind of went off on the rails, but
yeah, we always do.
That's what the show is about.
So ASS, you know what? I think that AHS Religion is probably the next season, Deb.
You think?
I don't.
Would he do it?
Probably.
Well, no, I'm talking about season 2.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
To a
Yeah.
degree, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
great.
it's just the world. He puts religious things and, just like, Apocalypse and Armageddon. I'm not talking about Apocalypse. I'm talking about the Apocalypse that he references. He references all that in a lot of different ones because those are like the mysteries of the universe for people in general. So he throws all that shit in there.
Yeah.
It's human nature. It's love. It's hate. It's religion. You can only get so much out of a love-hate, out of a girl-boy story. You have to put a little more in there. So he kind of throws he peppers it up, makes it interesting. That's why we watch it.
Yep. Oh, today's wand. I don't know. Where's my whiteboard?
Oh, yes.
I don't have a whiteboard anymore. Where'd it go? Can you see it this way? Hold on.
Melinda looks like she's Eve or something right now.
So this is the
I'm hanging paper.
Yeah, but you look like you're in the garden waiting for the
smallest
snake.
one in the collection. See? It's only that big. It's the smallest one in the collection. And this one belongs to a student by the name of Katie Bell. And what makes Katie significant is there's almost a horror scene in book 6, movie 6, where she gets possessed by this necklace and it stretches her up in the air and she's like screaming in agony. They're showing the dangers of what's going on in the wizarding world. So that's the significance of this character. It's her little one. I like this little one because it's tiny.
Huh.
There you
go. Okay. Oh, thank you. Interesting. So Debbie says Ryan's Catholic. Well, as Catholics, I don't know if anybody I grew up, I went to Catholic church for 13 years. I went to Catholic school rather for 13 years. I grew up Catholic. We tend to sensationalize things, but it's not just regular organized religion. We wear robes and we do everything very.
Oh my God, please, I'm not knocking anybody's religion, but I'll tell you this, I will never go to another Catholic church day. What am I trying to say? What's the word?
Mass?
Ceremony.
Mass. Thank you. Only because, or a wedding. Holy shit.
No.
And that's the only reason I know the Catholic church is because of my ex and his family was Catholic. So around that time we were in our 20s. So, all the cousins and everybody who's that age is getting married. So we went to so many of them. But my God, the kneeling, the sitting, the kneeling, the sitting. I can't do that. Not with my knees and everything else. So that's
what though? They don't make you do that. If you can't, they're fine with you sitting. They've changed a lot.
Call me in 3 hours when this mess is over with. I'm like, oh hell no. I went to one. And never again.
Oh yeah, Deb, I get you. Wow. Kindergarten to high school. I graduated from a Catholic high school. Went to Catholic school my whole life. Married a Jewish guy. That's how life goes. And so they're into the ceremony. So yes, a wedding takes an hour. It's an hour. A mass from beginning to end. If you time it, and I've been, how many 45 minutes. I can tell you the whole thing from the beginning to the end. It just depends on how many people are going to communion, huh?
You time it so you can get out of there?
Yeah, because when you go to Catholic school, they make you go to church every week.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's about fear-mongering. That's all Catholicism is, fear-mongering.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really, don't consider myself, I'm more Christian these days, but I don't, I grew up that way, so I know, as a matter of fact, I was also thinking that there was some Da Vinci Code in this show.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, I can see that.
Could be.
So you get a little Da Vinci Code in there with the whole Pope stuff and end of the world and everything. Because I feel like the Catholics talk about the apocalypse more than any other religion.
Yeah, it's fear-mongering. It's what
the end of days.
Hmm?
I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow's episode.
What is tomorrow's episode?
Tomorrow's episode is Smoldering Children.
Oh, sad.
Yeah, good episode.
Yeah, well, we're almost done.
We're almost done with season 1, guys.
We'll be on season 2 by the end of the week.
Things are going to get deep with the podcast.
Yeah, things are really going to get deep. But we will be back tomorrow to continue.
And just to mention to everybody, go check out our Facebook page. We got Facebook Lives going up there all the time. We've got posts and videos. We had some We had some breaking AHS cast news, possibly. Just chit chat, just people talking, but you never know. It's fun to think about right now. I think in this time, in this
It
day
should
and
be
age.
down. You have our Facebook down there, Donnie?
Yes, everything is listed
Everything,
down.
Yep, everything's in the description. The links are in the description. You guys go check that out.
Click Debbie's thing.
Yeah,
that's so funny. So yes, when you're in church, it says, "May the Lord be with you," and then we always say, "And also with you."
Yeah.
Like what's that stupid show with the chicks in red and Handmaid's Tale? It's like the Handmaid's Tale. They say that crap.
No. That's a different kind of. That's not Catholic. This is a. It's different. It's
They say the same kind of cadence type stuff.
Yeah, but they're not Catholics. I can tell you that. They have their own. They're like extremists. They're different.
Yeah.
Shows you what can happen.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you what can happen if like Bible Belt people took over. That's like Bible Belt stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. We'll be back tomorrow to continue our coverage. Everybody have a great day, and I was gonna say, completely forgot.
And
bye.
No, we're not.